And we are live. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Fleming Film Show. We are doing a Batman special, and I brought Cody and Justin, who love Batman just as much as I do, to join me as we rank down these 12 movies. How you been, guys?
Pretty good. I'm excited, and thank you for letting me come on to talk about my favorite superhero of all time. It's been my favorite superhero probably since I was 3 years old. When when I saw a episode of Scooby Doo where Batman and Robin showed up to solve a mystery.
Nice,
So,
nice. I thought your introduction would have either been the 60s show or the 90s cartoon.
well, yeah, I had seen the 60s show after that because they rerun it all the time. And then, of course, I am old enough to have remembered when Batman 89 came out, even though I was very young and my parents would not let me go see it when my older brother took my sister to see a midnight showing of it, which predates the animated series. But I will say the 1990s animated series is still, at this moment in time, my favorite interpretation of the character.
Nice, nice, nice. What are your thoughts on Batman, Justin?
Um, well, when I was a kid, I just remember seeing Batman, the first Michael Keaton one, and I just from there fell in love. I loved Jack Nicholson as the Joker. Um, revisiting this movie in theaters this past year for my birthday, it doesn't hold up to the standards as we know and love today, but neither does the 1966 version, which I'm sure held the standard at one point. So it's just it just depends on where you were when you first saw it and how you felt about it.
Yes,
I didn't
yes.
get into any of the animated series. I'm sure I've watched some episodes and stuff, but I when you watch TV shows, it's hard to know, especially if they're in syndication, if they're doing them in order. So you can't really get the lineage of the story.
Well,
So
it's not.
I tended,
Yeah, that when you're older and you watch stuff like Sopranos and Game of Thrones, you kind of get more into it, and it's easier to access every episode in this day and age. You can watch any series you want, really, no matter how old or young it is.
I
yeah.
mean,
So I'm
for
sure I had I'm sure I had the TV show on in the background and stuff, but you just don't know what's going on and if it matters to storyline or not.
they're standalone episodes for the most part, except for where there's a two-parter. They're like, it's not like you really have to watch them in order.
Yeah, yeah, I get that. I get that. So, shall we kick off this ranking list? And do you mind if I go first?
It's your
Let's
show.
hear
Go
it.
ahead.
Lovely,
Yeah.
lovely, right. My number 12. I love this character to pieces, and normally I find all these movies entertaining in their own way, but the most boringest Batman movie there is when he is with another DC character, and that's Batman versus Superman. I think this is the worst Batman movie to date because I don't like Ben Affleck as Batman, and I'm probably not the only person that does. But I don't like how Batman kills people or uses a gun. Plus, I kind of find it he kind of undershadows and overshadows by the other DC references. I know I do feel like with this movie is that they did not know what to do with it. I personally prefer the Ultimate Cup, even that gets boring after a while. But I don't know, there's just something about this movie that doesn't make it as good as these others. Granted, there have been worse movies, but this one is definitely my least favorite. So my number 12 is Batman versus Superman. I'm also not counting Justice League or Joker to this list because they're not really Batman movies.
No, no, no. What's your number 12 code?
Yes, we'll go Cody
Well,
next.
it's not Batman v Superman though. That's coming up real close. I won't tell you how close, but it's coming up. But my number 12 is not a hot take and not a controversial opinion. It's usually at the bottom of most people's list. And it is just a bad movie. I know that they were trying to say, oh, it's a love letter to the 1960s television show, but really it's not, because you're being overly sexualized. And really the only actor who's in on the joke of this movie, and it's pretty sad when the best part of the movie is Arnold Schwarzenegger, who is hugely miscast as the villain, Mr. Freeze. But yes, Joel Schumacher's Batman and Robin is one of the most atrocious films ever to be placed on cinema. This nearly killed the franchise. This nearly killed comic book and superhero movies. It's a train wreck of a movie. I mean, you could say maybe it's a guilty pleasure to watch, but really the only fun part of this movie is Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yes. I noticed that's probably going to be 12th on a lot of people's lists, but I've had fun with this movie. But I'll talk about it more when it hits on my list. Just what's your worst Batman movie, in your opinion?
It is one of the three that I had not seen going into doing this. I had not seen the original Batman or the two animated movies that came out for it. And I just didn't care or have fun in Batman Mask of the Phantasm.
You're going to be hated.
Yeah, you're gonna.
I don't care. I do not
coming
care.
At you.
Out of the three movies that I had not seen, I could not wait for this one to be over with. And Batman, the first one, is horrific. So I just didn't care for it. I knew exactly what was happening and who it was, and it just wasn't fun. And I actually didn't care for the animation either. So I do appreciate Abe Vigoda being in it, because you know.
What about Mark Hamill as the Joker? His voice is iconic.
Yeah, he's all right. He's all right.
Fair enough.
I'd rather see him in person. I'd rather see him on a live action movie. But yeah, this is fine. I mean, it's, you know, I kind of like the little backstory a little bit, but you know, we know the backstory. We all know the backstory.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, this happens a lot. He gets wrongly accused of murder, and of course he doesn't murder. So yeah, and the person, the Phantasm, didn't even look like a Batman. It just looks, just because he has a dark cape and a helmet, didn't look like Batman at all. So for them to
sounds like you turned it off after the twist, before the twist.
Would you want me to spoil it?
Not really.
I said I knew who it was to begin with. I knew exactly who it was to begin with. It's like Death on the Nile.
Yeah, well, Death on the Nile has been written loads of times, and you can't really have a new ending with Death on the Nile, can you?
Or with Batman.
I don't know.
The budget was $6 million, and it only made $5 million. Didn't even do well. That's what it
did
should
not
tell
do
you
well
guys.
financially.
It was meant to be a direct-to-DVD movie,
Mhm.
but had a theatrical release at the last minute, so that's why it counted on this list.
And that's why that's exactly what it feels like, is made for TV.
Yeah.
But this did launch the DC animated film universe that they're still going strong on.
That are all straight to DVD. So
yeah,
I'm only big on
the only one I would actually want
release.
a theatrical release for is the Flashpoint movie, because I really wish that they had more of a larger scale with that one.
Oh, well, I really, really like the Dark Knight Returns adaptation. It's a much better version than what Zack Snyder tried to throw into Batman versus Superman.
100%. So you ready for my number 11?
Let's do it.
I'm bouncing off of you, Cody. It's Batman and Robin.
Mm-hmm.
Normally, Joel Schumacher is not a bad director. I love Lost Boys. I love Falling Down, but he does not know how to make a Batman movie. And when you look at his style, it's dark. This is the perfect man to direct a Batman movie, but yet you're letting him direct a light-hearted Batman movie.
Well,
and it's not his fault that this movie was bad. It was product placement, kids, toys. You know, they just wanted it to be like too kiddie. And I hate Chris O'Donnell as Robin as well. George Clooney does not suit any character that exists before the script is written and he's casted in it. Because obviously I'm not big on him as Mr. Fox either, as I mentioned before. Yeah, he is not. He is probably the second weakest Batman on this list too. And the only one I think stands out really is Uma Thurman, because I don't think she's a bad actress. She was just in a bad movie. And I don't like how Arnold Schwarzenegger sells the movie either, because he's front on the poster. It's a Batman movie. Mr. Freeze does not need to be top billing because he's played by Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Well, I mean, that's just a problem they had with a lot of movies at this time, especially these superhero movies, because Jack Nicholson gets top billing in Tim Burton's Batman.
Yeah, but Jack Nicholson can actually act, whereas Arnold Schwarzenegger cannot act.
Well, he's good at what he does, but yeah.
He is. He's entertaining, but he's no Anthony Hopkins, is he?
No, of course not. I think a big problem with this is that Batman Forever was such a success because they wanted to be polar opposite of what the Burton films were because of Batman Returns. I think Akiva Goldsman is not a good screenwriter for these type of movies. I think he's better suited for dramas like A Beautiful Mind and Cinderella Man.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, Clooney's just being Clooney. Leonardo DiCaprio almost was Robin, but they asked a kid who looked tougher, and the kid pointed at the picture of Chris O'Donnell.
Wouldn't Leo been younger and more suited for the role?
Probably, and almost Christian Bale was almost cast as Robin.
What you're saying to me is that they casted the worst actor at the audition.
And yeah, so this
studios.
Also, why did they make Barbara Gordon? Or well, she's not Gordon; she's Alfred's niece. But yeah,
they said because Commissioner Gordon was too old to have a young daughter.
Okay, whatever, guys.
Yeah, so what's your second worst Batman movie?
Well, I'm going to ride off of your tails here, and sorry, Snyder Bros, come at me, but it's Batman versus Superman: Dawn of Justice. Big yawn. Oh, this movie is just a mess. It's a mess. They try to cram too much into one movie because they wanted to catch up with Marvel and create this connected universe. You're trying to do a Batman versus Superman story. You're also cramming in The Dark Knight Returns, the death of Superman. You're trying to introduce members of the Justice League. Lex Luthor is horribly miscast. And I'm sorry, but when they have that epic fight, which is supposed to be awesome, and they're screaming Martha at each other, I laughed out loud in the theater.
I liked how they made a reference to their mothers having the same name. But why do it like that?
So absurd. And yeah, the director's cut is a little more, it flows detailed. A little bit better as far as the story, like more plot points make sense, boring. But it's still not a good movie. I just don't like Zack Snyder's interpretation of these characters. I think he's better suited for something like Watchmen and 300, where it's a deconstruction instead of actually doing a superhero story.
Yeah, exactly.
Also, I don't think he likes Superman at all.
Why did he direct a Superman movie? Why didn't he just give it to a director who likes Superman? I'm pretty sure
because they came to him.
They were high on that slow-mo 300 success. I mean, 300 got him a lot of jobs.
Did you know Tim Burton?
It's like 12 years later, though.
Nolan love Batman. So they make good Batman movies. So what's your second worst then, Mr. Doyle?
Well, I'll tell you somebody who doesn't make a good Batman movie. And this person's name is Leslie Martinson. And it was the first Batman movie, originally titled Batman the Movie, based on the TV show that I did watch a lot as a kid.
And it is a really good series.
Well, it was mostly because of the music and then the BAM stuff. Like, if they were fighting, I only cared for them in costume. only in Batman and Robin costumes. I don't care about anything else. This is as a kid, by the way. And so I only wanted to see them in costume, and that was my favorite part. And then I watched this movie just last week as a 36-year-old man. So 70 years later, 60 years later, and it's not meant for me. I mean, these jokes are horrible. All
they don't like the shark repellent joke.
No,
sometimes you just can't get rid of a bomb, Justin.
So you need a bomb repellent too. I mean, yeah, the shark that bit him on the ankle at the first part. I mean, you know, obviously it's fake. It doesn't. It's just when we have what we have now. I just can't accept this anymore.
If you had like proper comedians and stuff and like real effects, you can remake this movie and make it funnier.
Yeah, possibly.
I mean, there are comedians in this. Burgess Meredith and Cesar Romero. Those are comedic actors.
Yeah, I love Burgess Meredith.
He's a better Joker than Jared Leto, at least.
Almost anyone else that's played the Joker is a better Joker than Jared Leto.
I don't know. Over the voice stylings of Phantasm and Killing Joke, I don't know. We'll see.
Mark Hamill's a way better Joker than Jared Leto.
Yeah, and he's done better voice of the Joker in obviously he's brilliant in the games.
Yes.
Burgess Meredith in Grumpy Old Man is iconic. Just so it's colder than a witch's titty out here. And he sounds pretty much like the Penguin in that. So I do think that Burgess Meredith was my favorite part of this movie. Adam West, I know everyone jokes about him and how he talks, and it's for a reason. Like he's the worst person to deliver monologues, dialogues, everything. The stunts in this were really funny. Yeah, I mean, because they're making fun of him. Yeah, so I liked Penguin. Everyone else, like Riddler, was such a travesty. The Joker's iconic. I remember him always in the TV show. Like he was always a good villain. Yeah. I did think it was interesting that they had all the villains for Batman in this movie. They just put them all in here at once.
At least it's Spider-Man 3 doing it.
Better? I don't know. I would rather watch Spider-Man 3 than this again. But the stunts were awful. You know, you can tell when people didn't connect with punches. And again, it's 1966, so that's why all I'm saying. But that's the reason also why I dislike it, is because I'm older. I like things differently now, and this is just too.
All 1966 films can be as good as The Good, the Bad, the Ugly.
Yeah,
I mean that's a masterpiece. What are you gonna do?
Yeah, and you know what's not? Batman the movie.
No, I wouldn't go as far to say it's a masterpiece.
No, it's not a masterpiece. But but that is what is the reason all these other Batman movies exist. As atrocious as it could have been, and how it's not a proper adaptation of the comic and the character. That was a popular TV show, and that gave rise to more comic properties being adapted.
Definitely. Yeah. Definitely. Right, you ready for my number 10?
All right.
My number 10 is based off a masterpiece, but this movie isn't a masterpiece at all, because they add in a really dumb subplot that ruins the movie. And it's a t-shirt I'm wearing right now. It's Batman the Killing Joke. I do not like this movie at all. Granted, it's better than these other two movies are listed, but it is definitely the weakest out of these 3 animated movies. And when you have read the comic after you have seen this movie, you instantly think to yourself, why did I watch that crap? I could have just read this and had a much better time. This comic book doesn't even focus on Batman. It focuses more on the Joker, and he doesn't even appear until the second half of this movie. And I just do not like this movie that much. I mean, I do own it on Blu-ray, but it's more to show friends who haven't seen it before. But yeah, my number 10 is The Killing Joke.
Don't do it. Don't show it to
Yeah.
What's your number 10?
Well, my number 10, I used to really, really like this movie because it came out at the right time and the right age. And I still have the collectible glasses you bought at McDonald's that was part of the promotion. It has the best soundtrack of all the Batman movies. But sadly, it is not a good movie upon rewatching.
Yes,
20
I'm
something
glad you
years
brought up
later.
the soundtrack because Batman Forever doesn't have a pedophile in the soundtrack like Batman and Robin does.
That is true. That is true. As far as I know, Seal has not done any atrocious things like R. Kelly.
No.
But yeah, this movie is a total complete reverse because they were so appalled by the backlash that people had against Batman Returns. And it's kind of disappointing because I think the original script is something interesting because they delve with Batman's backstory again, but like his psyche and his childhood. But it gets overshadowed by all these unnecessary jokes and humor that's not needed. And I know a lot of people have fond memories of Jim Carrey as the Riddler, but it's not the Riddler. It's just Jim Carrey doing Jim Carrey's shtick. And Tommy Lee Jones is not playing Two-Face. He's playing a different character, even though he appears as Two-Face.
That's what I got.
Yeah, iconic graphic novel. Yeah, this is just not a good movie. And Nicole Kidman is really just here because she's horned up for Batman. I do think Val Kilmer's a decent Bruce Wayne, but not a great Batman. It's just not good. Batman Forever, number 10.
A lorry driver at my old work thinks he's the worst Batman, Val Kilmer.
Worst?
I don't know
Over
if he's
Adam
the worst.
West?
I think Clooney's worse than Kilmer.
Yeah, I do. I thought Kilmer was pretty decent,
Whoa.
even though the Batman fans have spoken to don't mind Kilmer.
I think Clooney has a little more suave to him than Val Kilmer does.
Oh, definitely.
Well, yeah, in general, but like just their performances, I think Kilmer's at least trying to give a take, whereas Clooney's just like, I'll just do what I think's needed. But
to be
also,
honest, I can picture George Clooney to be a much nicer guy than.
well, totally. If you've heard like all the stories about Kilmer and his past,
he got fired after this film as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that explains a lot. See, Chris O'Dowd is probably a nice guy. I just don't like him as an actor. So what's your number 10?
He's good at scent of warning.
What's your number 10?
Rob and I link up. It's Batman the Killing Joke. Yeah, these last three movies that I saw were the worst of the three. I guess there's a reason why I hadn't seen them. But I really do enjoy the animation in this one, and even on the cover it's really, really cool animation. And I kind of liked he's feeling a little bit of a backstory for the Joker, because you don't get that in a lot of movies, or in Batman movies in particular. But I really liked the little backstory. You're right, he doesn't come in until closer to the end or to the second half. But yeah, it was fine. It's I wasn't mad that it was on, out of the three that when I was watching it. This was perfectly fine. Yeah, Mark Hamill's back. You also have Joe DiMaggio, who's, big voice actor now, doing like Rick and Morty and stuff like that.
It's the voice of Bender.
Yeah.
Yes, legend.
Yeah, and Bender. And
he's also voiced the Joker before.
And he's Jake the dog from Adventure Time.
Yeah.
I love Adventure Time.
Interesting. But yeah, I think what you had mentioned about sexualizing like Batgirl and the way the story, kind of played out was a little bit weird. Because Cody, you had mentioned that he's more like a father instead of like
Another.
somebody, which is true, I guess. But
I'm
you
about to
got
say, I'd rather
sexy
see a
icon with
Robin
sexy icon.
romance if there had to be a forced romance in Batman, but I think Batgirl should be the badass and should really have love on this if it comes to her, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting. I mean,
Yeah, obviously.
yeah, I didn't really
female
take it
characters
for
don't need
that same
romance.
sort of way that. Yeah, you don't need the romance in movies.
Lara Croft doesn't, and neither does Ripley.
The Talented Mr. Ripley?
No, Ripley from the Alien franchise, Sigourney Weaver.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Right, you
Yeah,
ready for
killing joke. Batman the Killing My Jokes, number 10.
Nice. I mean, I thought we'd have a match one way or the other. My number 9, I'm going to bounce onto one of Justin's 11, I think it was, and it's the 66 movie. Yeah, I watched this movie as a kid, and I probably liked it then, but I reckon if I watched it now, I don't think I would love it as much, but I feel like it does have some nostalgic value. Like, this is my dad's favorite Batman, because obviously he grew up with it. I think this is everybody's dad's favorite Batman if it's not Michael Keaton. People just have grown up with this, and obviously I've been shown this, and maybe some other kids who like Batman, like probably our age now, have probably seen this movie because of their dad, and I think this is a good introduction to Batman for people. But the series is a lot better.
This is not a good introduction for people who want to watch Batman. If nobody's ever seen a Batman, you can't show them this one first.
So wait till they're into Batman and say, yeah, this is what Batman used to be.
Well, yeah, you can say that, but
actually, I would rather show them an episode of the series first, because a 20-minute episode is just kind of just a laugh, really. Where if it's like a hour and a half, 2-hour movie, it might just be a bit boring, and I think that's probably why it's your number 11 as well. Like, just felt like a long episode of the animated series. No, of the 60s.
I didn't think it was. I didn't think it was boring. I mentioned this to Cody the other day when we were talking about it. It's like, if I had somebody to watch it with, and that we could have made fun of it more and enjoy it, kind of poked more fun out of it, then I could have seen enjoying it. Green Lantern, or like I did with Precious.
Green Lantern is the movie where I'm finally like, you know what? I don't have to go see every comic book movie in the theater.
So you think, so when I get round to writing Blade 3, do you think I should invite a friend over to watch it with?
Yeah, it'll help.
Blade Trinity?
Yeah, Blade Trinity. Yeah, so Cody, you're number 9.
Oh, my number 9, I'm bouncing off of you guys. It's The Killing Joke. I don't know how they took one of the most iconic graphic novels, probably the most iconic Joker story, other than The Man Who Laughs, I think, and turn it into this, I don't even know, disgusting film. Like, the first 30 minutes of this movie aren't even necessary. You don't need this, and it's just appalling that they throw that one scene in between Batman and Batgirl. I mean, I know they were trying to give Batgirl more dramatic heft because of what happens to her in this story, but it's not needed. But I mean, after that's over, it is basically a adaptation of the graphic novel. It's just they kind of weigh it down, and it's sad because they went with the R rating. They brought back Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill, who are iconic for these roles, and it's just disappointing.
Yeah, it is a very disappointing movie, especially when the first half of that movie isn't even needed. I just was flicking through this comic, and I loved the ending. And it was really hard for them to interpret it on screen when I watched the movie again after I read the comic book.
What made you guys get into the comics?
Well, I watched the movie and I heard that the comic book was so much better. Obviously, my friend Dave King, who loves comic books, who did the Fleming Film Award for Best Adapted Screenplay, he loves comics, and we always talk about comic book actresses and stuff, and he said The Killing Joke was one of the best comics, so I asked for it for Christmas one year, and I read it all the way through. I was quite proud of myself. Alan Moore
Yes.
was a genius.
As far as that particular story, I think my older brother told me it was like one of the best novels, and of course it's written by Alan Moore, who's considered one of the greatest comic book writers. And he's like, this is like the big inspiration for Tim Burton for the portrayal of the Joker.
Yes, especially the origin of the Joker there. But I would say that Joker, the movie, has kind of gave him a really good origin story in that. That kind of tops this one. Have I really just got a controversial opinion right now?
Well, I mean, some people love the Joker, some people hate the Joker. I'm kind of in between. I just don't like Todd Phillips' reason that he said for making the movie, and also it's just it's a well-made movie, great performance by Joaquin Phoenix, but really it's just Taxi Driver meets King of Comedy, but with the Joker instead of a Robert De Niro character. Which is why Robert De Niro shows up in the movie with the role, is because of the King of Comedy.
I gathered after I watched King of Comedy afterwards, I wanted to see the inspiration behind Joker. So, Justin,
Joker's solid.
What's your number 9?
Okay, so now we're just getting into the Batman movies, not the trashy ones. Now we're getting into the proper Batman movies. And so none of them, well, some are better than others, but for me, now we're getting into rewatchability. What would I want to watch right now because of how much I enjoyed it or how much I think it's fun?
Yeah.
My number 9 is the beginning of a series of movies that came out from Batman. And it's the Dark Knight series, and this is Batman Begins.
Wow.
The first Christopher Nolan Batman movie, Batman Begins. Now, I know you guys are saying, wow, but out of the 3 Dark Knight movies, this movie never gets talked about. Never.
It's underrated.
Never gets talked about.
It is underrated for superhero stories, for Batman movies. It's arguably the only Batman movie thus far that's actually about Batman.
True.
Yeah, it's the Batman Begins, which is why I put it here. I think it's a great film. It introduced us to Christian Bale as Batman, which I'm a huge Christian Bale fan. But it's just whatever. It's fine. It's an okay film. There's nothing that really jumps out at you.
Does I like how different he plays his normal role? He's not playing the hero, he's playing the villain. So I find it interesting for Liam Neeson to be playing the villain.
Yeah, I think he's good. The acting is. You can't get better than
Gary
people who are
Oldman
in this movie.
Gary Oldman's perfect as Commissioner Gordon. Michael Caine as Alfred.
Them three practically steal this trilogy. And they're all legends.
You also have Ken Watanabe, Katie Holmes, Cillian Murphy, Tom Wilkinson, Morgan Freeman. The cast is stacked. But again, we're talking about rewatchability. And out of the 3 Dark Knights, I don't even care about Batman Begins. And nobody else does either.
That's a hot take, sir.
Nobody cares about Batman Begins. But I do like that we got to see sort of a different sort of take on how it started. Of course, we get the tale as old as time, but I like that he's in Asia and learning. We get to see how he actually gets to become physically capable of taking on all these men. And yeah, it was fun. It's a good movie. And it's the beginning of the better of the Batmans that I like.
Let me just get one thing in my head. Why is Batman and Robin higher on your list than Batman Begins?
Either of the Joel Schumacher Batman movies.
I already explained it to you. It's rewatchability. Anyway, this movie budget was 150 million and it grossed 374 million dollars. Did pretty well.
Right, you ready for my number 8?
Yeah, I hope it's not as shocking
Bring
as
it.
that reveal was.
No, it's not. This one's practically where it should be because it's not a terrible movie, but it's not a great movie. But I love watching this movie. Batman Forever.
Hmm.
Jim Carrey steals the show. He makes this movie. He plays a very Frank Gorshin kind of Joker. No, Riddler, sorry. But he does it his own way. And he does add a dark twist. We get to see him actually go a bit more darker with his acting style. And it works. I don't like Tommy Lee Jones as Two-Face, and I'll tell you one big reason. Why wasn't Billy D. Williams recast? And two, why did you cast him with a white guy if you already established his character is of color?
They bought him out so he wouldn't return. I don't know why they wouldn't bring Billy D. Williams back since he played Harvey Dent in the Burton film. Maybe because they didn't want any connection to the Burton film, especially after Keaton stepped down from the role.
But it's just a bit weird how all of a sudden, unless this is set in another universe, you can't change a person of color character to a white actor.
But he's also not playing Two-Face because there's a scene in the movie where he keeps flipping the coin constantly to get the result he wants. And Two-Face would never do that. Two-Face always bases his decision on what the coin lands on. And yeah, I get what you're saying about Jim Carrey, but really it's still just Jim Carrey doing Jim Carrey. And
that's what makes it work.
I guess, but if I'm really interested to see Paul Dano's interpretation because I think we're going to get an actual more.
I am going to love Paul Dano's Riddler. He is a fantastic actor.
You don't know yet.
We don't know yet, but I think we're going to get a more accurate portrayal of how he is in the comics. And I
always wanted David Tennant as the Riddler.
Yeah, me too. I think he would have been great. But if you guys go back and watch the animated series, John Glover does a great job of what the Riddler actually is supposed to be like. Because he's supposed to.
That man loves DC because he's in every DC project ever.
Who?
John Glover.
Oh yeah, but he does because the Riddler is supposed to be more cold and calculating and intelligent. He's not like this maniac, over the top, zany person.
Well, he is in Batman the movie.
Well, yeah, but that's also an extreme comedic take on the material.
Yeah.
Which is what I think Jim Carrey was doing as well.
Well, of course.
As I said before, Joel Schumacher, he's not a bad director. He is a good director. He just needs to have his control. Obviously, me and Cody have discussed that before. If they let Schumacher have his creative control, I'm pretty sure he would have probably made them darker than the Burton ones.
Maybe, but he had full creative control in Batman and Robin, and look what he made.
Yeah, but I think if he made this movie dark, he wouldn't have made that. That would have been erased from the timeline. He would have made a proper Batman and Robin the way he wanted to, not the way the studio made him do it. So, what's your number 8 then, Code?
Well, my number 8 has been kind of poo-pooed on by you guys, and yeah, it's definitely not a great movie at all, and it's not the best interpretation of Batman, but this is how you do a campy Batman, Joel Schumacher. This is how it's done. This is campy, and it knows it's campy. It's not overly sexual. It's not like trying to mix two types of tones going on, because that's the big thing with the Schumacher films is there's tonal issues. And this was the introduction to Batman for so many people. Yeah. And Adam West knows exactly what he's doing. Is he Batman really? No, but he was Batman for a generation. And yeah, it's Batman the movie. It was made off the success of the TV show. It's just fun. It's not anything great or worthy, but it's entertaining.
Yeah.
And yeah. Who doesn't want some shark repellent and you can't get rid of a bomb? There's some great jokes. And then the end where they completely mess things up and they're just like awkwardly walking out for like the longest tiptoe I've ever seen. It's fun.
let's leave inconspicuously, but we're gonna take 5 minutes to do it.
The car is awesome, and everything is labeled in the Batcave. I find that hilarious.
I love
To
that
be
they
honest,
perfectly landed on the
I'd rather watch
styrofoam.
Burt Ward than Chris O'Donnell any day.
Yeah, come on. Burt Ward is a much better Robin than Chris O'Donnell.
100%.
Holy smokes, Batman!
Right, what's your number 8?
Cody, when did you see Batman the movie?
The
When
first
was
time?
the first time you think? Yeah.
That's like 6 or 7.
And you felt good about it then?
Oh, I loved it when I was 6 or 7.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean,
Yeah,
I
maybe if
definitely
I
don't
had
like
seen
it
when I
as
was
much. I've gone through back and forth how I feel about the Adam West Batman, but I've come to where
I watched Batman and Robin around that age and I loved it. It's just now I'm a lot more critical on movies.
I've just come to embrace what it did for Batman and that it is not taking itself seriously. It knows exactly what it's doing. And at the time, that's how the comic books were. So,
Yeah.
Makes sense. Okay. So my number 8 has been mentioned already. And yeah, I barely like it more than Batman Begins, only because both of my favorite superheroes are in it. It's Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. Rewatching this recently for our DC talk, I think, Rob.
Yeah.
It did not make me feel as good as it did the first time.
No.
So it made me
same for me as well.
It made me feel a little bit worse about it, but I do think that the some of the action in this is really good. The cinematography is phenomenal. The way that the way that he filmed this, I think, is really, really good. It's because I did see it in IMAX, and some of those big action scenes were awesome. And yeah, I mean, it's not a perfect movie. Obviously, you both said what was not great about it. I don't care that their mother's names are the same. But I do enjoy.
It is actually a thing that both their mums have the same name.
and now they have to be best friends, guys, because their mommy has the same name.
Just because
That was
just because me and my mate have both mums share the same first name does not mean we had to become best friends. We just are best friends.
Nope, it's the law, Robbie, based by Zack Snyder.
is.
If your
Yeah.
mothers have the same
So,
name,
it's because our mothers are called Sharon, we have to become friends.
yep, it was destiny.
Well, as a kid, that's what I would do with my figures. They were best friends, so I'm happy that they be finally. This is my childhood dream come true. So I was so happy, and I like Henry
What would
Cavill.
have made it better is if they teamed up and then had a team-up movie rather than a versus movie, because realistically, Superman would kill Batman instantly because he's a Krypton.
Yeah, but
Well,
not
what
if
I
they
think
had the
they
same mother's
should
name.
have done is Batman should have been investigating Lex Luthor, also while investigating Superman, finds out Superman's actually a good guy, and teams up with him to stop Lex Luthor. That's what the movie should have been.
That would have been a much better narrative, and the film should be called Batman and Superman, not Batman versus
And they shouldn't have had the Easter eggs they had in there, and Wonder Woman should have been like a tease at the end instead of like bringing, even though it was really cool to see all 3 of them.
I love Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman, but they don't know how to write her story well.
No, and
Yeah.
I know you don't like Ben Affleck as Batman, but I think it's more the script issues than him as an actor, because I actually think he's actually trying in this one, whereas in Justice League, he could care less that he's in the movie.
In the Snyder Cut, he was
It
better.
was barely in it.
He was better in the
In the
Snyder
Snyder
Cut.
Cut.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, who's not good in this movie is Jesse Eisenberg.
No,
He's so bad.
huge miscast. I don't know what that man is doing, but
I reckon what it is somebody said Heisenberg, insinuating Bryan Cranston. They said Eisenberg, let's get Jesse Eisenberg.
No.
I
This movie
actually
was
like him
budgeted-
as an actor, but this is
Yeah.
Social Network, he's phenomenal.
And that's what I
Yeah,
thought the
he's
kind of
giving-
performance he was going to give was like
Phenomenal,
that.
yeah, like he does in the Social Network.
So I was like, oh, okay, I buy it. It's not my take, but it could work. But no, he's doing some weird
If he
over the
wasn't
top.
Joker, Joaquin Phoenix would have been amazing.
I like Henry Cavill as Superman.
Oh yeah,
I like Ben
Yeah, it's
have
Affleck
just a
as
shame he
Batman.
hasn't gotten to actually play Superman like that we know Superman to be.
yeah.
So I hope he gets a proper Superman movie at some point.
You ready for my number
This
7?
is let me finish. It was budgeted at $250 million, and it grossed $875 million. That is the biggest out of the ones we've talked about. So,
But it's considered a flop because they wanted it to make $1 billion and it didn't, and because there was so much backlash against it.
if you double your budget, that's not a flop.
I
That is
know.
not a flop.
I'm just saying they thought this
And
was going to be like $1 billion movie because it has the two biggest superheroes in it, and it didn't quite make it.
Right.
It did really
And
well.
then Civil War, which has a similar story, is a much better movie.
Well, yeah, because
That
it's
is true.
based on an actual comic where realistically Iron Man and Captain America actually fight. It just should have been an Avengers movie.
It basically
It
is an
kinda was.
Avengers movie.
Yeah. You ready for my number 7?
Do it.
Sure.
So I think if any movie tries to bring in the comedy side of the 60s, it's this movie done in animated form. I love the Lego movie, so I had a really good feeling I was going to love the Lego Batman movie. That's my number 7. I love Will Arnett as Lego Batman. Ralph Fiennes is great as Alfred. You have Zach Galifianakis. You even have Conan O'Brien. Zoe Kravitz is Catwoman, and she's playing Catwoman in this new one. And Billy D. Williams finally gets to play Two-Face. So everything's happy. And this is the only Batman movie where I swear that most of these Batman movies we are talking about are all in the same canon.
Yeah. It's also my number 7, the Lego Batman movie.
Yay! We can actually fully dive into it then.
It's a fun movie. I think Will Arnett continues to do a great comedic take on the Christian Bale version of Batman.
Yeah.
Ray Fiennes is always great wherever he is. It's kind of funny that he doesn't also voice Voldemort, who shows up in this movie. But yeah, Billy D. Williams finally gets to be Two-Face. I think Michael Cera is also a better Robin than Chris O'Donnell.
100%.
Rosario Dawson, she's welcome in any movie she wants to be in, as far as I'm concerned, as Barbara Gordon. It's a lot of fun. I love that Doug.
She'd be good as an older one, but Oracle in the wheelchair.
Mm-hmm. I love that Doug Benson is just doing the Tom Hardy voice in this movie. My only issue with this movie is I wish they didn't try to connect other Lego Warner Brothers properties into the movie. That kind of hurts it. Other than that,
Are
I
you
think
happy to see Daleks in it in a Batman? Daleks in a Batman movie, Cody? Isn't this your dream?
I mean, I love Doctor Who. I love Batman, but I don't know. I just like what it was saying. Like, look, Batman, you need to grow up. You're just a giant man baby, and get over it. You got to grow up and take the world seriously. It's a fun movie that's good for adults and kids. This would actually be a good introduction to Batman for kids, this movie.
Definitely.
But yeah,
but definitely show them the Lego movie first, as I do kind of feel that they would have like a continuing story in like the backdrop.
I mean, the Lego movie is a masterpiece almost compared to this, but this is the only good spin-off Lego movie they made.
I kind of agree with you. Justin, is your number 7 Lego Batman movie? Justin, you need to turn your mic back on, bro.
Sorry, the dogs were barking. No, it is not. But this one has come up before. When this movie came out, I was so excited because I, as a kid, was a huge fan of Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah,
So
finally. Finally.
when he was in a Batman movie, oh boy, was I excited. So, but also one of the reasons why why it got so much attraction. I mean, it's vibrant. The colors are so vibrant in this movie. This is something that the other ones don't really have. They're all kind of dark, and it's either black or gray or yellow. But this is, vibrant blues, vibrant reds, purples, greens. It's just stuff we didn't get to see in all the other ones. So I think that's why that works so well. Plus, all the marketing campaigns that it had for it. McDonald's had it. It had toys. There was, T-shirts, and I ate it all up. Nom, 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 nom. I loved it. Now, it's not good. This is definitely not a good movie.
You probably just like it for the same reason I like Spider-Man 3, because it's silly.
Yeah, this is really, really silly. And Arnold Schwarzenegger is not a good Freeze. He's a bad Freeze.
Oh, he's horribly miscast.
The original choice was Patrick Stewart.
Which would have been phenomenal if it was a serious take on the character.
But it did give Arnold a little bit more of an acting. He doesn't get to cry in movies. He doesn't get to feel bad for himself in movies, and he gets to do that in this one. So I like that. I thought, Poison Ivy, super sexy in it, obviously. I think Alicia Silverstone at that time after
this is post Clueless,
This was huge.
Mm-hmm.
So
when I first watched Clueless, I said to myself, I'd rather watch this movie 100 more times before I even think about watching Batman and Robin again.
Well, of course, it's a better movie.
Yeah, Clueless is a way better movie than this.
It definitely.
But Robbie, preteen boys that me and Justin were at this time, we were probably, even though it's not a good casting choice, we were probably excited that Alicia Silverstone was Batgirl.
I can picture you guys were only going to be 12 at the time. I was only 3.
That's right. And we got new characters. We hadn't seen Batgirl yet in any of the movies, or Mr. Freeze or Poison Ivy. So it was nice to see new characters, and it's pretty bad, but I'd go back and see this. I'd go watch this now. Vivica Fox is in it.
That's true. I always forget that every time I watch it. I'm like, oh yeah, she's in this movie too. But Bane is terrible, guys, in this movie.
Oh yeah.
Yes. Speaking of Bane, my number 6 is The Dark Knight Rises.
His name was Jeep Swenson. That guy played Bane, and it was a muscle suit. It wasn't even real.
Yeah.
Just real quick, movie budgeted 125 million, made 238 million. So
yeah,
did make its money back, but this nearly killed the franchise and comic book movies.
Yes, and my number 6 kind of came when they were all a big deal. The Dark Knight Rises, as I mentioned. I think it was hard for Christopher Nolan to end this trilogy after a film we'll talk about later. But Tom Hardy steals the show. Joseph Gordon-Levitt's great. You have obviously Gary, Michael, and Morgan, all fantastic. I'm not big on Marion Collette, and I don't really like her character that much. Anne Hathaway was good, but she's no Michelle Pfeiffer. And the plane scene at the start is definitely the second best introduction to a Batman movie, and I think that, and obviously Zimmer does the soundtrack again, which is always great, and I think that's about it really. I think I pretty much covered everything on this movie I wanted to say.
Well,
Joseph Gordon-Levitt's in it, Anne Hathaway.
I'm gonna match you, Robbie. It's also my number 6 is The Dark Knight Rises.
Yay!
I know some people really hate this movie, and I get why they don't like it. I mean, they had a tough act to follow with The Dark Knight, and I know it's a different story than what they probably originally were going to do with a third film because of Heath Ledger's passing, though I don't think he would have been a major villain. He would have been like a side character or only had one scene.
I had an idea about how he'd come in like towards the second half of the middle. He'd be released he'd walk out the prison when Bane releases all the prisoners.
Maybe, and he probably would have played the scarecrow part, but I like seeing Cillian Murphy show up in each entry.
I'll keep that part in because Cillian kind of links it all together if you think about it.
But
he should have had more. He should have saw what happened to him. You never see what happens to him.
I do think the third act is a little clunky. Like, there was no need to keep Marion Cotillard's secret a secret. Like, we knew who she was going to play when we heard she was in the movie. Like, they should have just embraced that, and that was fine. I know a lot of people like to dog on the Tom Hardy voice, but I kind of dig it. I think he's great as Bane.
As you guys are aware from my list I did the other day, I don't like the ending to this movie either.
Yeah, I think Batman should have died at the end. I think that would have been a powerful ending. I also roll my eyes that they forced Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character to basically be Robin, but I love Anne Hathaway as Catwoman. Yeah, she's no Michelle Pfeiffer, but she's playing a femme fatale and doing a great job. I think this is a good conclusion. It's just not as good as the other two entries in Nolan's trilogy, but I really enjoy it. And Tom Hardy, I dig your performance.
Agreed. Do you have anything else to say about that, Rob?
Not really. You can move on to your next one.
All right. Well, we're getting into already been talked about categories. This was your guys' previous one. It's the Batman Lego Batman movie. Yeah. It's just tons of fun and better than the other animated movies for sure. You're right. Doug Benson is. I was born in the shadows. He just, talks about. He just says that stuff, and it's so fun. But yeah, Ricky Lindholm is in there. Zoe Kravitz. Billy D. Williams, Jermaine Clement, Eddie Izzard, Ellie Kemper, Jason Mantzoukas, Ralph Fiennes. There's so many good vocal stylings in this movie, and it's a lot of fun. It's not as good as the Lego Batman movie or the Lego movie, but it's a good sequel because the Lego number 2 came out.
It wasn't
after
as good
this
as
one,
and I've not seen Ninjaro movie yet.
You don't need to. It's kind of blah.
No, you don't.
It's worse than the second one.
It's worse than Lego Movie Part 2, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. It's just fun because it's like, when the first one happened, you had to have that character that was going to take you through the whole film, and we did. And the song, that was great. But we actually know characters from Batman. So that's why this one worked for the Lego movie as well. It's like, we know all these characters, so we don't really have to be introduced to anybody. We can just kind of have fun, and they did, and we did. And yeah, it's just a fun little animated film. I like that they're getting smarter with doing animation and trying stuff differently. Like the Lego stuff is cool. Lego movie, I think, really transitioned, really elevated the animated world, and I think this worked out. The only budget is $80 million, and it grossed $312 worldwide. How is this $80 million, but then Killing Joke and Mask of Phantasm was $100 million? That's so stupid.
Because it's hand drawn. It's harder to make.
So crazy.
Yeah.
Very, very. It's good. It's a lot of fun. Kids are gonna like. If you want to introduce people into Batman, this is a good way to do it.
You ready for my number 5?
Yeah. Look, what cracks your top 5?
Yeah, I wonder if this is.
Well, we all know what's left for you guys, so we just gotta see where they're placed.
Right, I wonder if this is Cody's number 5, but this came out round the time of the 90s cartoon series, and like I said, it does feel like one episode, but it really tells a dynamical story that really works for film, and you could make this movie into a live adaptation of Batman, and it would work really well. I know a YouTuber who loves this movie. A lot of YouTubers love this movie. A lot of Batman fans love this movie. It's Masters of Phantasm. Is this your number 5, Cody?
It is not, but it's coming up pretty soon on the list. My number 5, and the only reason it's number 5 is just because there are 4, I think, stronger made films. But this is probably a nostalgic favorite for me. It is probably the proper introduction to the character. I've probably seen this movie. There's probably only one other movie I've seen more than this one, and that's Ghostbusters. And if I just want to pop on a movie, this is probably the one I would pop on more so than any of the other films in the franchise, just because I know every word of dialogue to this movie. I love this. Might be my favorite score of a movie. Michael Keaton, I think, will for always be a top Batman for me. I just love his performance, even though his Bruce Wayne is not really Bruce Wayne, but I like the take that him and Burton do on it, that he's like slightly an obscure, off, eccentric billionaire. Jack Nicholson almost steals the movie, but Michael Keaton holds his own. This is classic. It's iconic. The only thing that doesn't work in this movie is the forced Prince soundtrack that they made him put in this movie.
One I agree with you on, Code.
But it's Tim Burton's Batman. It's a masterpiece of nostalgia. It may not be the greatest Batman movie, but for the time it was released, people loved this movie. Batmania was everywhere.
Cody?
What?
What's your favorite Tim Burton movie?
Ed Wood.
Mine too.
But yeah, I love this movie. It's just that I think there are some stronger thematic films to this, but it's always going to have a high place near dear in my heart. Forever and always, even with its flaws. And I even got into a debate with someone who argued that the Burton movies people only like for nostalgia, and I disagree. They're still solid movies. I disagree
on that. Yes.
How could you harp on me about Batman Begins, but Mask of the Phantasm is higher up on your list than Batman?
Because it's a better adaptation of the character.
You are out of your mind.
We think you're out of your mind for not liking Mask of the Phantasm. If you saw it when you were 10, you would have loved it.
You had it as the worst Batman movie. You like Batman and Robin over so many other movies.
I do. Yeah.
And Batman.
But I think
at least you're honest about it.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, and you are in the minority of this, having Phantasm be higher than Batman. That is crazy.
Sorry, guys.
But yeah, I mean, I have my own thing too. So, boy, oh boy.
So Sean,
all right. Well, my number 5 just briefly was talked about, or not briefly, but just was talked about. And we're still going on with the Bane. It's The Dark Knight Rises. What I take away the most from this movie is when he's in that pit. When he's in that pit and he's trying to get out is so good. I love what a great like way to just put something in a movie that's a superhero movie that's not superhero-ish at all. You know, like this is just a man trying to be a man getting out of a man-made cave. And I just really enjoyed that.
That quick.
How does it get back to what?
How does he get back to Gotham that quick?
Who cares? He's Batman.
He probably used some like shark repellents and stuff like that to get back. So
also, I love
he found a way.
I love how Bane taunts him in that fight scene in the sewer is so good.
Yeah. It is so good. I like all the characters in this.
The ending does let the film down.
Well, the ending makes it just a very good movie instead of a great movie.
Not a masterpiece.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't if it were to come to fruition that Joseph Gordon-Levitt would be, Robin, I mean, he kind of looks like Burt whatever from the first one, Burt Ward.
Well,
he kind of looks like him.
the Tim Drake interpretation, I think, of Robin.
Yeah.
This is great. I liked Christian Bale's sort of turn in this one. He doesn't, it's not like Dark Knight, where how he was in Dark Knight. And I do think Anne Hathaway is good as Catwoman. And then Tom Hardy is just phenomenal. Like, he's so small, but he looks huge. He looks jacked. And Marion Cotillard's always good to look at. Ben
I don't know
Mendelsohn's in
how
this
they
movie.
made him more
Ben
physically
Mendelsohn's great.
imposed. Oh yeah, who is actually a character from the animated series, even though they didn't say his name Roland, they say John, but that's a character from the animated series. But yeah, I don't know how they made Tom Hardy physically imposing to Christian Bale, because I think Tom Hardy's only like 5'9" or 5'10", and Christian Bale's over 6 feet tall.
Mm-hmm.
He needs to do a movie with Leo, Tom Hardy, and Christian Bale. Nolan does.
Do you think that the Joker could have been in the third one if Ledger didn't die?
Probably.
Yeah, he probably would have had an appearance.
By the way,
$250
million budget, $1 billion it grossed. So now we're into the $1 billion here. Dark Knight Rises.
Yes.
All right, what's coming in at number 4?
Batman Begins for me, because I do like this movie quite a lot because of how it shows the origins of Batman. It's a movie I think gets better the more you watch it. And the more you watch it, the more you get into the story, kind of work out what's going on, because it's a non-linear Batman movie, because Christopher Nolan always thinks outside the box. You have to give it a couple of rewatches to understand what's going on. But the more you watch it, the more you love it. And I like this movie a lot. Also, you get to see a young Joffrey from Game of Thrones in this film.
You should have murdered him then and there.
I knew you were going to say
that. Yeah, I do agree, because while we were talking about it, when I was talking about it, the trailer was kind of playing here on IMDb, and it's like, maybe I'll just give it another watch. Maybe I'll give it another
peek. Have you ever seen this movie once?
No, I've seen it twice. I saw it when it came out, in theaters, and then at home. I own it, so
nice
DVD.
Nice. But yeah, overall, Batman, and it was my introduction to Christopher Nolan, of course, who is my favorite filmmaker of all time.
Yeah, he's good.
Is he one of yours, Cody?
I do really like Christopher Nolan. I feel like with The Dark Knight Rises, his movies are getting too long and bloated. And I feel like he just doesn't care if his audience gets his movies or not anymore. He's like, well, if you can't understand my movie, it's not for you. And I also didn't like his insistence on releasing Tenet in the big screen during the height of the pandemic.
I saw it because I was really hyped for it. It was the only film I saw during the COVID pandemic in 2020.
Yeah, I just wish he'd have been a little more understanding, like Guillermo del Toro was about Nightmare Alley not doing so well in theaters.
Yeah, it's funny how they've delayed Cyrano for so long and it's still not doing well in theaters.
Yeah.
And it's a great movie because I watched it the other day and it's one of my favorite films of the year so far.
I went and rewatched it last night, and it is so good. I love it.
Brilliant. I would say Cyrano is better than Batman Begins.
Okay.
I'd rather watch Cyrano again.
Yeah. So what's your number 4?
Well, I guess I'm a madman, but I will say this. The animated series is the best adaptation of the character. Kevin Conroy is the best Batman we've had. When I think of what Batman sounds like, it's Kevin Conroy. And I like that this is an original story, but it does a better job of portraying the Batman origins than one other movie. And I really like the story. I like this story that's connected to his past.
It's an actual Batman story.
Yeah, it's about Batman. But yes, my number 4 is Mask of the Phantasm. This is one of the best Batman movies. I'm sorry, it is. It's one of the best
You just
Batman
probably
movies
watched
ever
other bad-
made.
Justin probably just nitpicks movies. That's what he does.
No, me, I don't nitpick. Okay, I'm not a critic. I don't. No way. No freaking way. I am more open to watching. I'm worth a view movies. Every movie is worth the one view. I'm more open to watching movies than anybody else out there. I don't nitpick. That's just not a good movie.
It's a phenomenal movie. If you're a Batman fan, this is one of the best. Kevin Conroy
What do you
is
like about it?
Batman.
What
Sorry,
else do you
just
like about it?
I like the animation. I like the score. I like the direction. I like the story. I like the character of Phantasm. And you got Dana Delaney as the voice of the love interest / yep, spoiler alert, as Phantasm.
yes.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. We knew it from the beginning.
But it's for a sad
But I-
reason, and it's their love that makes the movie. And I thought you loved love.
Justin, this was Chase's number one.
It doesn't surprise me. But I do like that these animated movies are only an hour and 15 minutes. That is
they're
that is
short.
kind of nice. Yeah. Whereas the last one we just talked about was 2 hours and 44 minutes, being The Dark Knight Rises. Unbelievable.
So, what's your number 4 then? Because if I think what I think is that we'll have a similar top 3.
No, because I haven't said this one yet, even though you guys shit on it so much. But
I don't shit on
there
this
is
movie.
no-
I do not shit on this movie. I liked it for its time. I liked it when I was growing up. I still like it now. It's just not a great movie.
there's no one better than Jim Carrey as the Riddler in Batman Forever. It is my number 4, Batman Forever.
Gee, thank God.
Were you afraid he's
I
going
totally
to put this
disagree.
like at number 1?
No, I have a feeling what his number 1 is. I was already going to put this at number 2.
Oh. No, I think I know what his number 2 is.
Well, so anyway, yeah, Val Kilmer's fine as Batman, and Tommy Lee Jones is whatever, but my favorite people ever at this time is Jim Carrey and Nicole Kidman, and you put them both in a Batman movie, which is my favorite superhero, and I had such a good time with this. Yeah, Crystal Donald's fine or whatever, but you also have Drew Barrymore in this, and she kind of is like a
yes. I love Drew Barrymore.
kind of a throwaway.
I prefer Drew Barrymore to Nicole Kidman.
No way.
As an actor or
also
just in this movie?
Well, Drew has Nicole ever directed a movie? Drew has.
No,
Okay, but I mean,
yeah, but
Nicole
she's-
Kidman is a really good actress, and I think
No,
this
she
was
is. She's one of the best. It's just there are films. I don't know. With Nicole Kidman, she is a fantastic actress, but I will not know what to pick. My favorite Nicole Kidman movie is.
To Die For or Moulin Rouge.
I do love her in Moulin
Yeah,
Rouge.
Moulin Rouge.
Yeah, okay, she's better in
I mean,
Moulin
she
Rouge
won
than
for the
Batman
hour.
Forever.
But I think this was like America's like really even though she had been in Days of Thunder and some other things. I think this was like
think Drew just seems like a nice person. To be fair.
Oh well, Drew Barrymore's probably a nice person.
Yeah,
and I like Drew Barrymore, but I don't know if she's a better actor than Nicole Kidman.
No, she's not. They're in different leagues.
Yeah, she does a lot more like Drew can do comedy where Nicole probably can't do comedy, But also Jon Favreau's in this movie.
He is, isn't he? Like one of the lawyers or
assistant? Yeah,
assistants.
Yeah. But yeah, I didn't really care for Val Kilmer, but I do enjoy all the villains in this movie. I mean, Tommy Lee Jones was having a good time. Jim Carrey obviously was having a good time. And yeah, I mean, I was obsessed. I had all
they hated each
stuff
other on set.
everywhere.
They wanted to upstage each other. That's why their chemistry is so bad in this movie.
You know what happened in real life? Like after they made this movie, like Tommy Lee Jones was eating at some restaurant and Jim Carrey walked up to him and was like trying to talk to him. And like after that happened, they said Tommy Lee Jones approached him and said, "Do not ever come up to me ever again. I do not like you."
Oh, good old Tommy Lee Jones. He's such a curmudgeon.
They should have Josh Brolin as Two-Face.
I thought he would have been phenomenal as Harvey Dent, but I also thought he would have been a good older Batman in the Zack Snyder movie.
Yeah, I would have gone for that.
Who do you think was more of a curmudgeon on The Fugitive, Tommy Lee Jones or Harrison Ford?
Tommy Lee Jones, obviously.
They're both curmudgeons.
I don't think you can out curmudgeon Tommy Lee Jones. But yes, I do think that
Javier Bardem did in No Country for Old Men.
He out curmudgeoned him, you think? No, that was Javier's first introduction. I don't think that he would be going around being all curmudgeon like.
No, I mean like he had a better performance.
Well, I mean that's a phenomenal character. I mean, what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
Yeah, and a curmudgeon is just like an old guy who's just mad at everything, and Javier Bardem wasn't that.
No.
This movie was budgeted as $100 million and it made $336 million. So pretty good.
Yeah, it made more money than Batman Returns, which is why they doubled down on the campiness with the next one.
Right. you ready for my bronze?
Yeah, what's your bronze?
Here we go.
A film that has not been mentioned yet, but is probably the most Burton Batman movie you can ever get. And this film is stolen by the four leads, which really shows that Burton is a fantastic director. You have Michael Keaton, Danny DeVito, Michelle Pfeiffer, and Mr. Christopher Walken. Batman Returns. It's actually the only Batman movie that is a Christmas movie as well. And I like watching this film around Christmas. So you guys?
Oh, I love this movie.
So is it your higher feeding code?
Actually, nope. It's my number 3 as well.
Yeah, we can talk about it more.
And that is why I have the original Batman, which Justin feels like is unwrongfully too low. But I feel like this is the superior film to the original Batman movie because it holds up better as a movie. It's more of Tim Burton's vision, even though it's not as good of an adaptation. I can't believe Warner Brothers let him make this movie, but it is so weird and so dark and just so good. I mean, Danny DeVito is frightening. I used to be scared of him as a child, and he is so gross and perverted. I don't know why I got to watch this movie at such a young age, because this is probably the dirtiest Batman movie too. But Michelle Pfeiffer as Catwoman, one of the greatest villain performances. It's up there with Jack Nicholson and Heath Ledger's portrayal of the Joker. Like, it's almost as good, if not just as good, in my opinion. And Christopher Walken's just a lot of fun because he's being Christopher Walken. But yeah, this is a batshit crazy movie, and I love it. Like, they've got penguins with rockets on their back. It takes place at Christmas time. It's some kind of weird version of It's Wonderful Life and A Christmas Carol as a gothic fairy tale with Batman in it, and it is pure Tim Burton, and I love it.
Is that your number 3 as well, Justin?
No, it is not.
Don't tell me what your number 3
I am
is.
surprised. I thought I was going to be the only person that had that movie that high up on the list.
No, I'm just worried that Justin is going to say the most controversial opinion on this list.
That's fine. It's his opinion. As wild as it could be.
This is not wild. This is not wild because
what's your number 3?
We've been talking about what movies mean to us and what they are. And I just think that these other 2 movies are better than this one, even though this is probably going to be on everybody's number 1. It is the sequel to Batman Begins, and it's The Dark Knight.
You have The Dark Knight at number 3. Why?
I mean,
because
it's fair, because it's not a Batman movie, really.
Yeah, exactly. This is, we talked about this, you take Batman just out of it, and you just take it as a movie, and it's a damn good movie. It's a really, really good movie. But yeah, it's not a Batman movie. This is a Joker movie. It's
You
a
have
Heath
seen
Ledger
this movie
movie. It
100
is.
times, like I have, right?
I've seen it like 2 or 3 times. Yeah, it's pretty good. I mean, it's a very good film, and I think it's just performance heavy. There's a lot of movies that are just performance heavy. King Richard, this past year, I just think it's performance heavy. I don't think it's a good movie. I don't think it should be up for Best Picture.
I like King Richard.
And I think this is just performance heavy. This is just Heath Ledger putting on a masterclass of acting, and as an actor, I love seeing it, and I love the movie, and it is the most rewatchable of the Nolan films, the 3 Nolan films. But the action in it is phenomenal. The way that it starts out in the bank is so cool. Plus, I feel like Christian Bale maybe had some relief off his shoulders because he didn't have to carry the movie the entire time, and I think he kind of just enjoyed himself more in this movie than he did in others. But yeah, I mean, there's nothing you can say about Joker and Heath Ledger, one of the best acting performances we've seen in our lives. And for somebody to win an Oscar posthumously is pretty spectacular. It doesn't happen much. Yeah, I mean, when you hear Dark Knight, you just hear Heath Ledger. You don't hear Batman. So
yeah,
that's the reason why it's not higher.
The first thing I think of is the shot where he's about to jump off the building in Hong Kong. And then I think of Heath Ledger's Joker.
Yeah, well, I don't think that. I think you're in the minority of that, because as soon as somebody hears Dark Knight, it's just Heath Ledger Joker. I mean, it just, when film comes up, all you think is Heath Ledger
point
Joker.
of the movie half the time, because I'm trying to convince friends who aren't really superhero fans to watch it anyway.
Yeah, I mean, if you just want to show a friend a good movie, that's this is that.
Yeah.
Budgeted 185 million and it grossed $1 billion. So very, very successful. Yeah, and one of the more rewatchabilities, I think, especially the Christopher Nolan ones. This is one that everyone just wants to watch again.
Definitely.
Yeah, Heath was even having fun being all drugged up.
He was. Right, you ready for my number 2?
Let's hear it.
So if Justin knows my number 1, then I think his number 1 is going to be my number 2, and it's already been said by Mr. Cody over here that it's Tim Burton's 1989 Batman, which I agree with everything Cody says. Good story, brilliant performances, aesthetic from Burton, fabulous. The score, beautiful, but we could have easily cut the Campy Prince soundtrack. I don't have any disrespect to Prince. He was a fantastic artist, but his music does not suit a Batman movie. If you replace that with just some instrumentals of Joker just doing random stuff, then it will probably add more to the movie's dynamic and aesthetic.
Yeah, that's why I prefer the sequel to this one, because it's more of a Burton movie, and because it is aged better, and I like just Elfman's score. That Prince music is really out of place in the movie, but the production design is phenomenal. It's the mixture of German expressionism meets film noir. You're not sure if it's modern day or in the 40s, but I don't like the chemistry between Vicky Vale and Batman. I think the chemistry between Keaton and Pfeiffer is electric. It's a much better coupling. I don't like the Robert Wool character either. I feel like that's unnecessary comic relief. Like, you have Vicky Vale already. We don't need another audience surrogate reporter. But it's still a phenomenal movie, and I will always love it.
Also, this film links in with a recent DC movie. It links in with Suicide Squad, because there is a paper on the table for the island they go to in Suicide
Corto Maltese, yes, which they got from The Dark Knight Returns.
Yes.
Yeah. And Michael Keaton is coming back as Batman in the new Flash.
And Batgirl.
Yep.
TV shows?
No
Well,
films.
one's the movie and one's a HBO Max movie.
Ooh, okay. Cody, did you say your number 2?
Oh,
Yeah.
no. So
That's what
I
I'm saying.
debated on where to put these two films because, like, obviously there's one that is a great movie, but is it a great Batman movie? I don't know. It was hard for me because we talked about this, but I guess I got to go with quality of, like, what's a better movie? What do I love more? So my number 2 is the best movie about Batman and maybe the best origin story of any superhero movie we've gotten. It's a phenomenal story. And Robbie, like you say, every time I watch it, I like it more. And I think it's underrated because of the sequel. People forget how good this movie is. And yeah, phenomenal A+ actors across the board. Christian Bale, Michael Caine, Morgan Freeman, Liam Neeson, Cillian Murphy, Tom Wilkinson. It's a great movie and has some of the coolest Batman images that you can think of in a movie.
Yeah.
And I almost get to tears about how emotional. It's the most emotional time we've seen Batman's parents killed. Though I'm tired of seeing those damn pearls. Stop showing us how Batman's parents die. We know already. But this is probably the most effective it's been portrayed in the movie. That's the other thing that I kind of have a problem with the Tim Burton Batman is them trying to connect the Joker and Batman even more by having him be the killer of his
Yeah,
parents.
that annoyed me when I watched Batman Begins.
But I love Batman Begins, and I think it's a highly underrated superhero movie. So Batman Begins, number 2.
I'm assuming Justin's is Batman Returns.
That's what I'm assuming as well.
That is. It's my number 2. Batman Returns. Same thing. I was super scared of Danny DeVito.
I got more
he's
scared of
just
the scene where
spitting
she
out
turns into
blood.
Catwoman. That's a horrible scene.
With all the cats?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She just
But
always
then
looks
she
at her
becomes so good. Like she is along the lines of like a Heath Ledger villain where she's just into her character, loving it, really like even when she's not dressed up as Catwoman, she still has the same sort of mannerisms that cats do, and she really paid attention to that. And as much as Christopher Walken is a super creep in this movie, like he's still awesome. Like I love Christopher Walken. I think he's always, you know, I tell you, I think he's always that. We haven't mentioned this. Michael Gough is in the first like 5 or 6 Batman movies.
He's in both the Burton and Schumachers, and he's a great Alfred. He's not my favorite Alfred, but he's a very good Alfred.
He's a very, very good Alfred, and I like that they kept him throughout. You know, like that. It gave somebody like me.
One day.
Do you guys know where Christopher Walken's character's name comes from?
Nosferatu.
Max Shrek?
Yep, the actor who played Nosferatu. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. I'm gonna check that out for its 100th anniversary for Halloween this year.
Great. It's an interesting, well-made movie. You should also, if you can find it, watch the Willem Dafoe, John Malkovich movie about the making of it.
Oh, I'll watch them both.
Shadow of the Vampire. It's really good.
Shadow of the Vampire. I'll check that one out.
Yeah, it's just a lot of fun. I really enjoy, obviously what my number 1 is like, oh yes, a sequel to it. Hell yeah. And I mean, I've just seen these 2 movies the most, like out of all of them. We just, when you're a kid and you don't have Netflix, you just have VHS to put on. I put this on a lot, as much as the first one as well. 80 million at the budget, and it grossed 266 million worldwide. So it did pretty well. It is very, very dark. I like that you guys brought up that it's a Christmas movie because like it's kind of like the Die Hard thing. It's like, well, just because it takes place during Christmas time, does that make it a Christmas movie? But nobody seems to have the same argument as they do about Die Hard. So, but it's a lot of fun. Michelle Pfeiffer, I mean, just unbelievably sexy in this movie, and still can knock my socks off. But I also thought that Michael Keaton, seemed more relaxed in this one. It's like it's like the first one, pressure. This one, a little more relaxed, and he seemed to have a lot better time.
Well, it's pre-internet, but people lost their freaking minds when it was announced that Michael Keaton was playing Batman. Everyone was like, "Oh, it's just going to be like Adam West," and people were furious. You think people are mad about Robert Pattinson being Batman, or Heath Ledger, or Ben Affleck?
Why were people mad about Ledger?
Because of Brokeback Mountain and 10 Things I Hate About You.
He's a diverse actor.
Well, I don't know if you know this, Robbie, but the internet and fanboys can be terrible, terrible people.
No, they are terrible. I've had some abuse doing his website.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty
sure. All right, well, you guys
just
want to hop on to each other's number one?
Yes.
Because we all knew what it was going to be.
Yes. Can I just say my thoughts on it and then let Cody have his?
Sure.
Okay.
This is my second favourite movie of all time, number one being Fight Club. But since we don't talk about Fight Club, let's talk about The Dark Knight. Heath Ledger, as you said, the best performance in any DC, any movie, period, in the supporting role. The story is just so layered. It doesn't miss a beat. It doesn't make you bored. It never gets slow. It just gets to the point every single scene. And every single scene shot by Mr. Wally Pfister is beautiful and feels like a work of art. The score by Hans Zimmer, although I don't think he needed James Newton Howard, but their score together is the best music you'll ever hear in a Batman movie. Obviously, the editing is perfect. You have Lee Smith doing this editing, who normally works for Nolan. He edits the story, puts the film together perfectly. Everything is just so good about this movie. And, you have Two-Face, Aaron Eckhart, Maggie Gyllenhaal. Who else is? Michael Jai White is even good in this movie. And Eric Roberts as well. I think about these actors too, not just Heath Ledger, and they're all fantastic. This is why Nolan, I consider to be the greatest director, because he made the greatest superhero movie, and not even Spider-Man Homecoming to top this movie. On to you, Cody. Why do you love this movie just as much as I do? You probably love it for different reasons.
This is one of my all-time favorite movies as well. I don't know if it's quite that high up, but this is one of the few movies that I was so hyped to see, and that it exceeded the hype that I had in my mind. Like, is it the best Batman movie? If we're just talking Batman, no. But if we're talking film, absolutely. This is just a great crime drama. Like, take Batman and the Joker out of it. This is Heat, but with superheroes.
Yes, Heat, but with superheroes. My friend Christopher Hyde, the filmmaker, he loves this movie, and I think me in to show him Heat, so you can see the inspiration.
Yeah, you take the diner scene from Heat and the interrogation scene from here, and it's almost identical, except it's a little more brutal in this one. But yeah, Heath Ledger, performance of a lifetime. It's a shame that we didn't get more Heath Ledger performances after this, because I think he would have become one of the biggest actors of his generation. He's a force of nature in this movie. But
yes, he is.
But Aaron Eckhart is always not mentioned, but what a great performance. The rise and fall of Harvey Dent in this movie is really
better than Tommy Lee Jones and Billy D. Williams combined.
It's really the soul of this movie, and Gary Oldman is great too as Gordon in this.
I like him more than the other Gordon. Did you see his Gordon develop as the story gets along?
But they didn't do anything with Gordon in the Burton and Schumacher films, though I am excited to see.
Bumbling idiot.
I am excited to see Jeffrey Wright's take on the character, because he looks really great as the character. But
he does.
Yeah, this is just a phenomenal film from beginning to end, and it's always going to be up there at the top of a lot of people's lists for superhero movies, because of just how well crafted it is from beginning to end. And yeah, even these minor characters are so well done. Like the little stuff that Heath Ledger does, like when he's trying to get the hospital to explode and it doesn't work, and then he's scared when it actually blows up. Like, yeah, whatever you've heard about this movie, it's been said a million times. It's a masterpiece, and it's one of Nolan's best movies.
Yeah, it is. It is his best movie.
I
I don't
prefer
know,
The
Dunkirk.
Prestige on a personal level, but because I think that's the bones of what Nolan is as a filmmaker. But
I don't know
You guys
why.
don't
I
like
just
Dunkirk?
have a feeling that your favorite is The Prestige.
that is my favorite Nolan film.
Yeah, he just said it.
Yeah.
What is yours, Dark Knight?
Yes.
Rob?
Yeah, that's my favorite Nolan film.
I would
It's
like
good.
to see him go back to his Memento days though, and make like a under 2 hour thriller.
Yeah, that'd be fun. Right.
Well,
Let's tell me about Batman 1989 and why it's your favorite movie, Justin.
my favorite Batman movie, and it is one of my all-time favorite movies. Probably, top 25 or so. Yeah, I got to see this in theaters for my birthday this last year. We rented out a theater, and I got to pick, and I picked Batman, and I hadn't seen it in a while, I guess. But yeah, as a kid, loved it. Michael Keaton loved it. I love Jack Nicholson as Joker. I love the Prince stuff. I don't even care. I know he doesn't fit into this, but I loved it because Jack Nicholson was having such a good time during the dancing there when they were playing, and I just think that his lack of just law is something I would never do. It's like I know so much law, and I don't ever want to break it. And he doesn't care about breaking law. And I just love Jack Nicholson back then. I still love him now. He's not in any movies, but I arguably enjoy it just as much as the Heath Ledger performance. Is it Oscar worthy? No. But is he having a great time being the character, doing what he should be doing? Absolutely. And was there a bigger actor at this time in the late 80s, early 90s? I mean, Jack Nicholson's a huge name.
They always wanted him
and
for the role from day one.
Because of The Shining, by any chance?
Yeah, actually, the guy, if you've watched a lot of these Batman movies and even the straight to DVD animated ones, you'll see a name always pop up as executive producer. And it's Michael E. Olson, who bought the rights to do the film of adaptation of film of Batman, and he's been involved since the 70s. He tried for a decade to get this movie made after Superman. And yeah, when he saw The Shining, he took the Shining poster and put Joker makeup on Jack Nicholson. That's who they always wanted from day one for the role. Even though there's lots of stories of who else they were considering, and even one actor who they tried to approach for the Riddler who turned it down because of what they did to him for this, just to get Jack Nicholson to take the role.
Well, Jim Carrey was.
Robin Williams was who they originally asked for the Riddler. And they approached him for the Joker when Jack Nicholson turned it down. And it was basically just a way to get Nicholson to do it.
Mm-hmm.
He would have been amazing as the Riddler if he was still alive.
Yeah. Jack Palance in this as well, just so good in his couple little scenes that he has, because he's always so good. But also Kim Basinger as Vicky Vale was just like so good. I love just thinking about like the blondes that they had and just the sequence, because it was Kim Basinger, and then it was
Jerry Hall,
Michelle Pfeiffer, and then they went
Nicole Kidman.
Nicole Kidman. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they just love their blondes in the Batman universe.
Well, odd you say that, because originally Sean Young was cast as Vicky Vale, and she injured herself, so they had to recast.
She even tried. Then she was meant to play Catwoman, but she was pregnant.
Yeah, she tried to get Catwoman, even sneaking into Tim Burton's office to audition. But they originally casted Annette Bening as Catwoman, but she was pregnant and had to drop out. And Michael Keaton was like, "Well, we should ask Michelle Pfeiffer. I think she'd be really good in the role." And
I couldn't see Annette Bening as Catwoman.
No.
well, that's
God,
just
no.
because Michelle Pfeiffer just owned it.
Yeah.
So you can't see anybody else now, even to the point where we have another really good performance and people are like, "Oh, it's not Michelle Pfeiffer," even though it's a more traditional take on the character, because Michelle Pfeiffer's performance is bananas, but it's just so good.
It's fantastic. It's fantastic.
Probably the biggest budget to gross worldwide. Budget was $35 million and it grossed $411 million. So
yet this
very,
movie
very well
was
done.
huge. People were carving the bat signal on their head.
Yeah, and that's partially the reason why I love it just as much. I mean, it's just so iconic. Yeah, so when I recently saw it, did it hold up as much as when I'd seen it?
Did you
as a
really
kid?
see it
No.
when you were 4 years old?
Yeah, I saw it when
Yeah,
I was
my-
4 on VHS. I remember the whole Bugs Bunny Daffy Duck intro on the VHS.
Cartoon before, yeah. The when I was a kid, parents didn't tell you not to watch stuff usually, like because my dad wanted to watch what he wanted to watch. So if it was rated R or had sex in it, I either sat there and didn't mimic it, like do it back, or I had to leave the room. And it's like, well, there's nothing. I want to watch this. I want to watch movies. So I would just watch whatever they watched. So it didn't matter, sex, rated R, nothing. We were allowed to watch this.
I was the youngest as a child, so that's partly, and plus, yeah, same thing. I just watched whatever because my dad was king of the TV at the time, so you just watch what dad wants to watch. But yeah, they didn't think about it because they're like, "Oh, it's Batman." Yeah.
Yep. And they also are like, "Oh, my kid's not going to understand what's going on here."
Mm-hmm.
But no, I love it. It's one of my favorite just movies and entrance into like the actors
is it your
here.
favorite movie from 1989, or is it Back to the Future Part 2?
Well, Back to the Future Part 2 is way higher on my list of all-time favorite movies than Batman. So I guess that would be the winner.
Okay. It's got to be Spike Lee's Do the Right Thing, I guess.
Mine too.
Yeah, if I had to pick a movie from that year, but Batman's great, and people forget
I think that was second on my list. I'll have to double check
how much of a cultural phenomenon that movie was at the time. Like, it was huge. What's weird though is that off the success of this movie, they didn't do more DC movies. They're just like, well, let's do more pulpy 1940s superheroes.
Yes.
There's a huge argument for 1998 and 1989 movies. Not only Back to the Future, Batman, Turner and Hooch, Field of Dreams.
Field of Dreams
Indiana
is
Jones
great.
and the Last Crusade.
The best sequel.
Uncle Buck. Parenthood. See No Evil, Hear No Evil, Dead Poet Society.
That's a great movie.
Roadhouse.
You forgot the anime Tiki's delivery service. I love that.
And The Little Mermaid.
I didn't.
And The Little Mermaid.
I didn't forget it. I saw it here, and I just chose not
When
to.
Harry Met Sally. Henry V.
Weekend at Bernie's. Sex Lies and Videotape.
Mm-hmm. I haven't seen that though.
Driving Miss Daisy, Lethal Weapon 2, Steel Magnolias. Oh my God! What a year! What a year! We should just do our top 10 1989 movies.
Why wasn't there a Batman movie in 1999?
Huh?
Why wasn't there a Batman movie in 1999?
Because Batman and Robin came out 2 years before, and like they didn't know what to do with Batman.
Yeah, they're like, we have to really reconfigure what we're gonna do here.
To the point where when Christopher Nolan approached them to do it, they're like, I don't care, do whatever you want with it.
Yeah. So shall we run on that note, shall we run down the lists?
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
My number 12 is Batman versus Superman.
My number 12 is Batman and Robin.
My number 12 is Mask of the Phantasm Batman the Animated Movie.
My number 11 is Batman and Robin.
My number 11 is Zack Snyder's Snooze Fest, Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice, and whatever other titles are in the movie.
Martha!
The Martha cut.
Yeah, my number 11 is Batman the movie, 1966.
My number 10 is The Killing Joke.
My number 10 is Batman Forever.
My number 10 is also Batman the Killing Joke.
My number 9 is Batman 1966.
My number 9 is The Killing Joke.
My number 9, which is the perfect spot for it, is Batman Begins.
My number 8 is Batman Forever. What's your number 8, Code?
My number 8 is Batman the movie.
My number 8 is Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice.
My number 7 is the Lego Batman movie.
My number 7 is also the Lego Batman movie.
My number 7 is Batman and Robin.
My number 6 is The Dark Knight Rises.
As is my number 6 is The Dark Knight Rises.
My number 6 is the Lego Batman movie.
My number 5 is Mask of the Phantasm.
My number 5 is Batman.
My number 5 is The Dark Knight Rises.
My number 4 is Batman Begins.
My number 4 is Batman Mask of the Phantasm.
Batman the Animated Movie.
Yep.
My number 4 is Batman Forever.
My number 3 is Batman Returns.
My number 3 is also Batman Returns. I'm just happy you guys love this movie as much as I do.
I do. My number 3 is The Dark Knight.
Controversial. My number 2 is Batman 1989.
My number 2, and I think is a much better spot for it, Batman Begins.
My number 2 is Batman Returns.
And my number 1 is the greatest superhero movie of all time, The Dark Knight.
Yeah, I know. I'm basic. My number 1 is The Dark Knight. It's just such a great movie.
Yeah, I mean, me saying Batman's my favorite is kind of basic too, but Batman's number 1.
Right? You
But
guys
at least no Mask of the Phantasm's number 1. That's good.
well, yeah. And maybe the new Batman film might take number 1 if we're all lucky and we all love it.
We shall see. I'm hearing mostly good things, though there are some people that are tired of another dark take on the character. But I am excited to see it because it looks like we're finally actually getting Detective Batman.
Yes, which is what I wanted.
Yeah.
No spoilers.
Well, I haven't seen it yet, so I can't spoil it for you.
Well, you guys saw the trailer, I'm sure, and already know Detective Batman stuff.
I work at cinema. I have to see trailers every day.
You don't have to. I'm going on Thursday. Can't wait.
Well, you'll see it before me. I don't know when I'm going to get to see it, but I
need to
will see it.
I'll see it the day I'm off work. The
Yeah,
first day
we're going to New Orleans for a wedding this weekend, so we have to see it early. We have to see it before.
Is it going to be like a New Orleans style wedding? Like, are they going to do the whole big band thing?
I really hope so. It is on that main strip there, so I'm like really, really excited because I've never been.
It's fun. I went for my honeymoon, and we got to see an actual wedding.
Oh, cool.
So it's cool.
Awesome. Yeah. Great. All right. Well, Cody, before we let you go, what do you have any movie recommendations for this week?
Wow. Oh yeah, I forgot we do that. Let me think. Yeah, I'm gonna recommend a very weird cult film that some people will hate, but I absolutely love for its production design and its makeup effects and the incredible performance by Tim Curry. I just did an episode on our podcast about it. It's Ridley Scott's Legend.
I want to
Oh
see
yeah,
that.
I need to see that too.
Yeah.
It's a weird movie, but I dig it.
My recommendation this week is Cyrano. I think it's a beautiful, stunning movie with a brilliant story, and Peter Dinklage steals the show, but Calvin Harrison Jr. really pulls the punches with his singing ability, and this is one of my favorite films of 2022 so far. I know you guys probably count it as a 2021 release. It released just before Christmas for you guys, but it hasn't been released in February, and it's a bit too late to do the Fleming Awards. Now it will be on the it'll probably be considered for 2022 Fleming Awards.
Yeah, that was a late addition to my list of favorite movies of last year. I had to have it tie in at number 5 because it's such a great movie.
Justin, I think Cyrano's better than Luca. I am sorry.
No, it's tied. It's tied for number 5.
Yeah, but I do think it's better in my personal opinion.
Well, yeah, I guess so. It's both filmed in Italy, so that's good.
Yeah.
I mean, I recommend Cyrano as well. I haven't seen. I think the last movie. Did I recommend Attica last week?
I think no. I can't remember what you recommended.
What?
I can't remember what you recommended. It was that one. Okay. Redeeming Love. That was it.
Oh yeah, that's. No, so yeah, I recommend Attica. It's the documentary that's up for best documentary this year at the Oscars. It's on it's on Amazon until the 28th, and then it just goes to like Showtime, I think.
Yeah.
But it's about the 1971 prison takeover of the prisoners who felt like they were being treated unfairly, so they took over the prison, and then stuff ensues. It's still huge. The prison system still is like highly against for racism there. Like it's still one of the places where racism is a huge thing. Like if you go to prison nowadays, you're stuck into 4 different categories of white, black, Hispanic, or Islander. And so this is huge against Black people. And I just am so disgusted at my own race of how we treated people. And it makes me really, really sad. It is a tough watch, but it's a very, very powerful movie, and I do think it should be viewed by everybody. Attica.
Nice. Because of how high my when I ranked the Best Picture nominations, because how high it got, I'm going to be ranking the international films and the animated films. That's in all 5 animated films. I might do that shortly.
Speaking of Best Picture nominations, if you liked Power of the Dog, or you at least like the direction of Power of the Dog, one of her earlier films is Jane Campion's films. It's not an early film. It's like her previous film, To Power of the Dog. But Bright Star is streaming on Netflix, and it's
I plan to watch that actually because I'm going to rank all of Jane Campion's films for International Women's Day.
It's a really sweet romantic film about this romance between John Keats and this woman. I forget her name. I think it's Fanny something.
Yeah,
it's Fanny Braun. Yeah, Fanny Braun. It's got Ben Wincham before people knew who he was as John Keats.
He's Paddington.
Yeah, Paddington. It's got Paddington as John Keats. It's a really sweet.
No, he's also Q.
Yeah, he's Q. Yeah, it's a really well made movie, and it's really sweet, and I recommend it.
I'll check that one out tonight. I plan to do another Jane Campion film tonight.
I still need to watch Holy Smoke and Portrait of a Lady. Those are hard to find.
Have you seen The Piano?
I have seen The Piano. It's amazing. I mean, Holly Hunter, Harvey Keitel, even Sam Neill's really good in it. I mean,
they're
he's
all
a good
fantastic.
actor.
Anna Paquin still when she was only 10.
Yep, got an Oscar.
Portrait of a Lady is on Amazon right now. Nicole Kidman.
Good.
Hey-o.
Christian Bale's in that movie as well. That's why I want to watch it.
Got John Malkovich, Barbara Hershey. Yeah. That was their follow-up to The Piano.
I didn't like In the Cut.
You didn't like it? I mean, I can
Yeah.
get why you didn't like it. I mean, a lot of people didn't like it at the
It just
time.
had a plot that just went over your head.
I think it's at least a stylistically interesting film, and I like Mark Ruffalo and Meg Ryan in
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, but it's nothing like Promising Young Woman.
Well, no, but you also got to think this is 2003, and the world wasn't quite ready for that kind of story. I think it's before its time.
Well, it's not like Promising Young Woman that hit dead on its mark
Yeah, because
around the
people
right
are more
time.
in the pocket of that now than they were in 2003.
Yeah, yeah, I get that.
Also, people felt really uncomfortable seeing Meg Ryan in that type of role because I guess everyone just wanted her to be the girl next door.
I
Can't always be that
still
way.
prefer her as Sally. I'll always prefer her as Sally, I think.
So most people prefer her. They want her just to be opposite Tom Hanks forever.
Yeah.
He's got other projects to do. I'm looking forward to Elvis.
Yeah, that's going to be a weird performance. I don't know what he's doing, but it won't be boring.
Definitely not. And it's Baz Luhrmann, and it looks like he's going all out.
Can't wait.
Yeah.
All right, Cody, where can they find you?
You can find me on Facebook. You can find me on Twitter and Letterboxd at FilmNerd85. You can see my live stream podcast show, Video Store Rejects. We do weekly late night shows on Wednesdays, and we do director series. We're about to start the first 4 films of the Coen brothers this upcoming month, so Blood Simple this weekend. And we have a Twitter page and a Facebook page, and most of our videos are on our YouTube page.
Nice. And obviously you're on here every now and again.
Yep. When you invite me, and I'm always welcome to be on, and I'm glad I got to sneak on this Batman episode.
Yes,
Yeah,
I'm glad
to have you.
Yes. And you'll probably see me and Justin next week. I don't know what we're discussing yet, but we'll hope it'll be a good one.
We talked about literature in films, or how films were brought to screen from book adaptations.
Well, book adaptations. That's what we're doing next week.
Well, it's also movies being influenced by writing or books. I don't know how we want to.
I think we should just do book
phrase it.
adaptations, but just like novels, not comic books.
Well, the thing about that is I don't read much, so I wouldn't.
No, I don't know. I was just going to pick films I like that were based on books.
Okay, I mean we can do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, sounds good.
Yeah. Right. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for coming on, Cody and Justin, and we'll see. I'm pretty sure we'll all meet again soon.
Yep. Thanks for having me. Always a blast.
Anytime. It always is. All right. Bye, guys. Let's.
Bye.
Lovely.